The police came to Aziza's house right away after her father's frantic call. They looked very confused when they saw the massive muddy footprints and jungle plants all over the living room. "What in the world?" one officer muttered while taking pictures. "This has to be some kind of prank," the other officer said skeptically. "Tracking all this mud and vegetation inside doesn't seem funny, though." Aziza's father shook his head adamantly. "I swear, officers, we have no idea how this got here. We were just sitting down to watch TV and then my son saw... well, he thought he saw a monster creature." Raj was still trembling as he explained what happened. "I just went to the living room to grab a soda from the kitchen. When I turned on the light, there was this giant, hairy monster standing in the middle of the room. It was taller than Dad, with long arms and bony fingers. It turned and looked right at me with these crazy red eyes and mouth full of fangs. Then it let out this horrific roar and I ran out screaming." The police officers exchanged doubtful looks as Raj's mother comforted him. "Son, I know you got a fright," the first officer said gently. "But seeing actual monsters, maybe you just imagined it, or it was a trick of shadows and lights or something." "No, I know what I saw," Raj yelled insistently. His whole body shook. "It was a real-life monster like the ones from a scary horror movie. You have to believe me." Aziza watched the whole scene calmly, deep in thought. She recognized the mud and plants. They were exactly like the vegetation from the cursed jungle she had traveled, which must mean Raj had indeed encountered one of the evil jungle's awful beasts. Somehow, the ancient forces she thought she had defeated were not done with her yet. They were able to reach out and send one of their monsters right into her home, perhaps as a warning, or the start of something bigger. Aziza cleared her throat to get everyone's attention. "It's all connected to me," she said firmly. "Ever since my awakening in the cursed jungle, I'm bound to its magic and the dark powers there. They must be after me again for some reason." Her parents shot her frustrated looks, but Raj studied her with surprising intensity. The police officers frowned at Aziza. "Miss, I don't know what you're talking about with jungles and magic," the first officer said seriously. "But if you had anything to do with this incident, whatever prank or stunt this is, it needs to stop right now." Aziza shook her head adamantly. "This is no prank, officer. I finally experienced what I was born to become, a human embodiment of a powerful river spirit. That jungle and its inhabitants were all too real." Gesturing at the muddy footprints, she continued, "Those markings could only have been left by one of the jungle's native beasts, like the creature my brother described. Evil, shape-shifting monsters that serve the cursed land's dark forces. They must be summoning me back for some reason after my awakening." Both officers' jaws dropped, and even Aziza's family was stunned into silence by her crazy insistence. Finally, the second officer stepped forward. "Okay, Mom, that's enough nonsense out of you. We're doing our job here, investigating an incident, not listening to wild monster stories." He took out his handcuffs with a serious look. "If you don't pipe down, I'll have to take you in on suspicion of this being a deranged stunt." Aziza looked at her parents pleadingly. "You have to believe me. That jungle was real. The evil spirits were trying to corrupt my soul and stop me from realizing my true destiny. When I awakened as the river's human guardian, I stopped the ancient curse over the land, but now it seems the dark forces are still hunting me." The police didn't believe Aziza's crazy story about monsters and magic jungles, but her family knew there was some truth in what she said. after the strange plants and footprints appeared. They convinced the officers that Aziza sometimes got confused, but meant no harm. Once the police left, Aziza's parents demanded to know what was really going on. Raj backed up his sister, saying he truly saw a terrifying monster creature appear briefly before it vanished. Aziza explained again about her journey into the cursed jungle to break an ancient evil spell. She described the evil beasts and dark magic she battled to finally join with the river goddess spirit and become its immortal human guardian. "I thought I defeated the curse's foul forces," Aziza said gravely. "But it seems they are still able to reach out from the jungle and attack me in this world now." She immediately had a flashback on how everything started. 3 months earlier, she recalled when she asked her parents if she could go hiking and have a picnic in the woods outside the city over the weekend. They agreed as long as she was careful. The day of her hike finally arrived. Aziza packed a backpack with snacks, water, and a blanket. She took a bus to the entry point of the woods and started hiking along the narrow dirt path winding through the dense trees. After an hour, Aziza came to a clearing with a vast river cutting through it. The river's murky water flowed rapidly over rocks and around bends. Aziza decided this would be the perfect spot for her picnic. She spread out her blanket on the riverbank and unpacked her food. As Aziza ate, she admired the river's mysterious power. She had always felt drawn to bodies of water. Suddenly, Aziza thought she saw something move in the river. A human-like form breached the surface for just a second before splashing back under. Aziza stared in confusion, wondering if her eyes played tricks on her. She continued eating, dismissing what she saw as her imagination. But then she heard an ethereal singing unlike anything she'd ever heard. La la la, la la la. The haunting melody seemed to come from the river itself, weaving in and out of the rushing currents. Aziza looked around but saw no one. The singing grew louder and more enchanting. She felt compelled to follow it into the river against her better judgment. Aziza waded in deeper and deeper until the water reached her waist. That's when something grabbed her leg and yanked her fully underwater. Aziza thrashed and kicked, opening her eyes to see the human-like form from before swimming in front of her. It was a mermaid with green, scaly skin and a powerful tail thrashing back and forth. The mermaid opened her mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. She screeched at Aziza in a language she couldn't comprehend. Then everything went black. When Aziza regained consciousness, she was lying on a sandy shore illuminated by a strange glowing moss. Her clothes and backpack were gone, leaving her in just her undergarments. Aziza looked around at the cave surrounding her. Rock formations hung from the high ceiling, dripping water into shallow pools. The only exit seemed to be the underground river she had been pulled into. The mermaid suddenly surfaced in one of the pools. "Welcome to my home, the ancient refuge of the river goddess Oguvi," she said in Nigerian English. What are you?" Aziza stammered, scooting back in fear. "I am the last of the river mermaid, charged with guarding Oguvi's sacred waters from surface dwellers like you," the mermaid replied. "I have not left these caves in over 20,000 years. I have been trapped here for so long." Aziza's mind raced, realizing the severity of her predicament. If the stories she had heard as a child were true, mermaids were not to be trifled with. "Please, I didn't mean any disrespect," Aziza pleaded. "I was just hiking and picnicking. I'll leave right away." The mermaid laughed, her sharp teeth baring menacingly. "You are not going anywhere, human. You are the chosen one who will release me and my kind from this underground prison." "What are you talking about? I don't know anything about you or this goddess," Aziza said, fighting back tears. The mermaid swam closer, her tail flicking back and forth like a snake ready to strike. "Long ago, my ancestors revered and protected the river goddess Ogilvy. We were her guardians," the mermaid explained. "But the surface people turned against us and Ogilvy, seeing us as monsters rather than mythical stewards of nature." Aziza listened intently, too terrified to respond. The mermaid continued. "Ogilvy rescued us by encasing these underground caves in an invisible shield powered by her magic. She made us a deal. If we remained loyal and kept the river's waters pure, one day a human woman with Ogilvy's bloodline would come and combine her life force with ours. This would remove the shield and return us to the surface to reign over the rivers once more." "And you think that human is me?" Aziza asked cautiously. The mermaid cackled, showing razor-sharp teeth. "I know it is you, foolish girl. I have been dreaming of you for centuries. You have Ogilvy's cursed blood pulsing through your veins, passed down by your ancestors who betrayed her." The mermaid lunged at Aziza with impossible speed, wrapping a scaly hand around her neck and squeezing. Aziza gasped for air as she was dragged towards the glowing pool. "By combining my life force with yours, the curse will be lifted and I will become the true river goddess. We will enslave the surface world just as they once did to us." Aziza thrashed and kicked, managing to break free for a second. She scrambled away towards the cave's exit, not caring about the dangers of the raging underground river. But the mermaid was too fast. With a powerful lash of her tail, she knocked Aziza back down and pounced, straddling her and pinning her arms to the ground. The mermaid opened her mouth unnaturally wide, displaying 3 inward curved rows of teeth coated with a green liquid, venom to immobilize prey. She leaned down, her venom-dripping mouth inches from Aziza's face. Aziza squeezed her eyes shut and turned away, whimpering in terror as the end drew near. Suddenly, the mermaid reeled back, screeching in agony. Aziza opened her eyes to see a large creature resembling a shrimp with massive pincers had attacked the mermaid, tearing into her arm with its claws. The mermaid released Aziza and frantically tried shaking off the shrimp beast. 2 more of the creatures darted out and went for the mermaid's tail. Seizing her chance, Aziza scrambled to her feet and sprinted towards the underground river, figuring being swallowed by the torrents was preferable to being eaten alive. She jumped in and allowed the raging currents to pull her away from the cave. Aziza held her breath as she was tossed violently through the tight winding tunnels. Just when she thought she would pass out from lack of air, Aziza was suddenly expelled from the river's mouth in a burst of white water. She gasped for air as she found herself in the open air once again. Aziza coughed and choked, pulling herself up on the riverbank. Miraculously, she had emerged from the underground just outside the city woods where her hike had started. She laid back on the grass, trying to process the wild events that had unfolded. Had it all been some sort of deranged nightmare? Or was there truth behind the vengeful river mermaid's claims about her being descended from a cursed river goddess? Aziza knew one thing. She would never stray from the city again or go near another body of water, no matter how drawn to it she felt. The woods and rivers harbored dangers she couldn't begin to comprehend. As she caught her breath, Aziza looked down at her arm and gasped in horror. There, beneath the mud and grime. Her veins were glowing an ethereal blue, the same unearthly light as the cave's pools, and she passed out.